Good afternoon, folks. My name is Gary Karp. I am an author and coach from Brooklyn, New York. My current book is Clear Visions, How to Create a Vision Board That Really Works. It's available at Amazon, at amazon.com and amazon.com.uk. And welcome to the latest installment in chats about the universe and everything. It's a little nod to my favorite author, Douglas Adams. I'm here with the creator of the Group of One, Katy West, and today we're going to be talking about the law of attraction, the tools of creation, and zero-point energy. It's going to be a lot of fun and really interesting conversations that we're going to have. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to my beautiful co-host and person I'll be talking with for the next hour, Katy West. Katy, how you doing today? Do you want to say anything to our viewers around the world?
Hello, everybody. Yes, no, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because this is one of my passions. With regard to sort of zero-point creation, I just love creating, and I love talking about these topics. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation today.
Great. Let's jump in it because I think the law of attraction is a great place to start because I think everybody, whether they are involved in New Thought, New Age, metaphysics, or if they're just casual and have stumbled upon us because there's nothing else on YouTube to watch, knows about the law of attraction, at least from Rhonda Byrne's The Secret, because that took the world by storm. It was on Oprah, and everybody knows about that. So let's start there. Now, for me, the law of attraction is really the way the world works. There's no way you can use it or not use it. It's sort of like gravity. It's always there whether you work it or not. There's no time that you could ever jump up in the air and never come down. So the law of gravity is always working. The law of attraction is always working. The question is whether we're doing it consciously or just willy-nilly without giving it much thought. And I work a lot with people in teaching them how to use the tools of creation to activate the laws of attraction, to which you call at that point the laws of creation.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. Could you tell us your views on exactly what the law of attraction means to you and how it works? And could you give us an example of how you used it in your everyday life to manifest a change or a positive attitude that you now work with?
Well, the law of attraction for me is it's very interesting. It's what comes in for me, which I'm not necessarily thinking about, not consciously, as you said, thinking about. So things would happen, to me, or things will come to me and present themselves to me, and it's nowadays I sort of pick and choose whether I want that thing a part of my life or not. Does it serve me or doesn't it? When these things just come to me, so I now know I've got a choice. Whereas before, things used to happen to me, and I felt I had to embrace it. Does that make sense? Because
yes, it does, and it leads me to my next question, because a lot of people, when they talk about the law of attraction or they're first being introduced to the concept, believe that it may be a lot of hooey or malarkey, to use a cleaner word. They may think it's just horse hockey because they don't see it working and they don't understand the principles behind it. For me, one of the main principles behind the law of attraction is responsibility. Responsibility to yourself, self-responsibility about everything that happens to you in your life, whether it is good or bad. You have a vested interest in. Everything that happens is on you. You cannot blame it on God. You cannot blame it on your parents, on your bosses, on your wife or husband or partner. It's all your doing. And it's that responsibility that I think scares a lot of people when they think about the law of attraction, because they don't want to take responsibility for their own actions. They'd rather give it to this invisible man in the sky or blame it on someone else. When everything that people have and everything that people need to activate the laws of attraction and create the world and life they want beyond their dreams is inside of them. It's inside of themselves. All they need to do is learn how to direct that energy, which is by directing their thoughts. And that, for me, is the big key, teaching people through meditation and through other tools how to control their thoughts. So could you tell us, when you first started to discover this change, where you had that choice, how you were able to then control your thoughts instead of just floating like a river downstream willy-nilly, that you were able to say, no, I'm going to control, and I'm going to consciously think about what I want to happen, like we were talking the last episode about the big C, and that's all I'm going to say, and how you thought it away, which was using the laws of attraction to get rid of something you do not want. So
Yes.
how are you able to train yourself to consciously think that way? Could you give some hints to our listeners?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. In 2006-ish, a friend of mine came up to me and they were so happy because their life was working. And they were telling me, they said, oh, I've just bought this book and it's called The Secret. And I said, well, just tell me a bit about it, because I don't read books. I said, just tell me a bit about it. So they did, and I said, oh, well, that's okay, I know that. And what I'd realised, I've never read the book The Secret. I've seen a couple of clips and things like that. I understand what it's about, but I don't actually, I've never read it, because I'd worked out 10 years previous, and that was through trying to please everyone else, to the point of giving so much away and not giving anything back to myself. I sort of came to a point in my life where I decided enough is enough. I need to do this my way, because it wasn't working doing it the other way. So I created my own way of doing things, which turned out to be what The Secret is, 10 years later, what The Secret is saying to everybody to do. But I'd worked that out for myself, just basically getting to that point where enough is enough. If I truly want to please other people, if that's what I love doing and helping other people, I have to first please and help myself first. That's what I had to do first. So that, for me, was my turning point. And when I realised, through observations, experiences, and through living, every single day, every moment by moment, putting myself first, and regardless of what other people, I did a lot of things. I quit my job. That was about 15, what was that? Nearly 20 years ago now, was when I was employed, and I really wasn't happy, but I was just doing that because everybody else expected me to do it. And I quit. I just totally quit and said, no, that's it. From now on, I'm not going to be employed by anybody else again. I don't do rules anyway. And I became self-employed, and that was my turning point. So then I could create my own life how I choose to create it.
Now, it's very similar to the story of how I reached my breaking point, where for years I had lived by the golden rule, and I had done everything that was expected of me to live the American dream, and the American dream never came to me. I ended up, instead of having life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, ended up being unemployed, divorced, and evicted from my apartment. Nowhere to go. And that was really my turning point, where I said, okay, I've tried it your way, and it didn't work. Now I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah.
And although I was not fully aware of the law of attraction of that time, and The Secret, and the teachings of Abraham Hicks and Eckhart Tolle and all the rest of the wonderful gurus that are out there, I started to live my life for me instead of trying to please everybody, and took a more conscious effort into what I was doing. And one of the books I picked up during that time was the Conversations with God books by Neil Donald Walsh. And one of the things he said in this book, even though it wasn't about the law of attraction, really shows how our thoughts create our reality and what we want, which is everything about the laws of attraction. He said that our perspectives create our perception creates our belief creates our behavior creates our experience creates our reality, and our reality in turn creates our perspective. It's a circle, and one thing inevitably leads to another. And that is really at its heart what controlling your thoughts is going to be all about. And if this sounds to a lot of people to be new agey, metaphysical, magical, unicorns and rainbows and all that, let's remember that behavioral psychology states that nothing has any meaning, good or bad, for you until you label it. Everything is simply an event. It is neither good nor bad until you decide it is. Now, once you decide that that event is good or bad for you, that will determine what you're going to choose to focus on and how you're going to choose to respond and react to it from a psychological standpoint. So it's really saying the same thing that Neil Donald Walsh talked about spiritually. So we have to be very conscious of our thoughts because they do create our reality. And really, at its baseline, that's what the law of attraction is talking about. Now, in the law of attraction, we have what I refer to as the tools of creation and what you refer to as the laws of creation. And I believe that there are three of them that we use to create our reality. They are thoughts, which we touched upon a little bit, words, and deeds. Whatever you think about, you're going to call into reality. You're sending that energy out to the universe. And for me, all the universe is a giant wish fulfillment machine. It doesn't judge you. It doesn't say this will be good for you or this will be bad for you. It just says, oh, you want this, let's give you more of this. Boom, and it gives it to you. So if you're thinking about the good things in your life, if you're constantly living in a state of gratitude, you are going to be giving more of the good things in life. You're going to be getting more of the love that you want. But if you're thinking about the bad things, if you're constantly complaining about your financial situation or your relationship situation, the universe doesn't care. The universe is going to say, oh, this is what they're concentrating on. This is what they're going to want. So they're going to give you more bad relationships. It's going to give you more bad money issues because that's what you're thinking about. So you have to be very careful about how you think and also the words that you use, the words that you use to communicate to yourself and the words that you use to communicate to others, because that's another of the tools of creation. How we speak to ourselves, how we speak to others, what we choose to write down is extremely powerful, because I believe that by writing things down, you're using the same force that God used, according to some Kabbalists, to create the universe. And the third tool is deeds or action. And that's the most powerful, because this is when we're being proactive. Because you could sit there and think about something and talk about something, but until you take some steps towards it, nothing's going to happen. The minute you put yourself in action, that's when stuff really starts to move. Albert Einstein was quoted one time in saying that nothing happens until action occurs. And that's not only true in the universe, that's true in our own lives. So you have to take actions. If you want your life to change, you have to get off the chair and get out of the house and do something. If you want a bigger house and a more beautiful house, you have to start with being grateful for the house you have and turn the house you already have into the most beautiful house by decorating it or cleaning it or putting up wallpaper or whatever it is. To me, those are the tools of creation. Thought, word, action, or deed. And they are the most important tools because combined with the giant wish fulfillment machine in the sky gives us everything that we want. Now, I do want to just make one distinction that's very, very careful. You have to be very, very careful about the words you use. when you're sending your thoughts to the universe. And I tell this to my mother all the time, who always goes around going, well, I want $1 million. I want $1 million. Why don't I have $1 million? I want $1 million. If these laws of creation work, where's my $1 million? And I keep saying, Ma, listen to what you're saying. Are you asking for $1 million? She went, yes. I said, no. You're saying you want $1 million. So that's what the universe is going to give you, the wanting of the $1 million. So it's going to show you all the bills you have to pay. It's going to show you your bank account was just overdrawn. It's going to show your neighbor just pulled in with a brand new Mercedes. It's going to show you that your boss is taking a cruise. It's going to show and give you the wanting. So you have to learn to choose your words carefully. And for me, this is where gratitude comes in most importantly. Because if you're grateful for what you have, you never look at the other guy and say, I want what he has. So how do you feel about the tools of creation, and can you explain what you call the laws of creation?
Yeah, well, you put it so well. But one thing I was going to add is even if someone feels that they don't have, say, anything sort of material to give, okay, like myself, well, you know, apart from I do have my treatments and cut hair and do that sort of thing, you know, ways of making money. But, you know, with regards to a house or, you know, other things, I don't have those things. I actually don't have those things. You know, I'm just being realistic. But what I do have, which I have in abundance, and I know I have, is I have compassion, I have understanding, I have, you know, mega amounts of unconditional love to give. You know, I have all that, and I know I have all that. And so in that, having all that, I give all that away. Because in giving it away, what I give out comes back. Does that make sense? So
Absolutely.
People don't need a lot of money to be able to give. You just give what you already have. And it's look at yourself and see what sort of person you are and what you have to offer and what you can give in that respect. It doesn't have to be giving people money. You can, you know, give people a part of you that you're understanding, or, you know, for many people, they just would love a listening ear. So listening to people, being able to listen to other people, you know, and all that, you know, we all have that. Mm-hmm. We all have that.
And I think you really hit the nail on the head in what most people who are first getting introduced to the laws of attraction believe it to be, because of the way it's been presented in, excuse me there, folks. Very dusty in this house today. What most people believe it to be, because of the way it's been portrayed through The Secret, is that it only can be used for material possessions. And that's one reason a lot of people in the spiritual community may turn away from the laws of attraction, because they say, oh, you can't be spiritual and make money, which personally I think is a load of crock. But there's a lot of that thinking, and that's why a lot of people are afraid of the laws of attraction in the spiritual community. And you hit it on the head. The law of attraction, while yes, it can be used to attract and manifest cars and money and houses and boats and computers and iPads and anything else you want, ski vacations and trips to Walt Disney World and supermodel girlfriends and beefcake boyfriends and whatever else you want, it is most properly used, in my opinion, to first manifest feelings of gratitude, feelings of love, feelings of appreciation for what is already out there, of feeling blessed, of not having to play keep up with the Joneses or the grass is always greener. And you said something that was very interesting before when you said, I know I have all this unconditional love to give, and I know I have all this compassion to give. And this is really an antithesis of how people think, because people think if they give away their love or they give away their compassion and it's not returned, then they have lost it. If they give away their money, then, and it is not invested properly, either by a bank or by a person or whoever they give it to, that it is not coming back to them, that it is lost, and that's their main thought. And that is exactly the wrong thinking, because what you're doing by freely giving your time or your money or your love or your compassion and not worrying about whether you're going to get it back or not, is you're telling the universe that you have an abundance of love, you have an abundance of time, you have an abundance of whatever you are sharing with the world. And therefore, the universe, remember, it's a giant wish fulfillment machine. It just says, okay, what are you thinking? What are you doing? I'm going to give you more of what you're doing. Boom. So if you give all your love and you give all your compassion or you give all your money and you honestly believe it, and that's the key, folks. You can't just say, well, I was watching this talk with Gary, and he said if I give away my money, I'm going to get all my money back tenfold. No.
No.
But if you truly believe that you're living in a state of an abundance, that you're living in an abundance paradigm instead of a scarcity paradigm, if you are living in a belief system that says there is more than enough for anyone, and not a system that says, I got to get mine before you take it from me, then by freely giving those things, whether it is time or money or whatever it is, you're telling the universe you have this in abundance, and the universe is going to give that back to you.
That's right.
In a nutshell, that's the law of attraction. Believing that you have the abundance of it and being grateful for it and wanting to share it with others.
Yeah.
You can take all the words in Rhonda Byrne's The Secret. You can take all the chapters in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and the teachings of Andrew Carnegie and Henry Ford and the Rothschilds and the Vanderbilts, and the one thing they knew that was the secret, if you pardon the pun, and I don't think we need to pay Rhonda Byrne any money, but I'm sure her lawyers will get in touch with us, is you have to want to give it away because you know you have it in abundance. You have to come from a place of abundance, from love, from gratitude, and that will really supercharge the law of attraction and the tools of creation. It's really that simple.
Yeah, and also, Gary, I was going to say, when I give whatever I have away, I give it away with absolutely no expectation of receiving anything back in return, and in that process, how can I put it? I don't know if this is the right phrase, but from the universe's perspective, it's almost like it's counterproductive if I was to give with expectation, because it's almost like it rules out it actually happening. If I do something and expect to get something in return, I'm most likely going to be disappointed because it's not going to fulfill my expectation.
Exactly, and that goes to, again, the universe doesn't keep score.
Yeah, exactly.
It just is. It just responds. It doesn't know good. It doesn't know bad. It just responds. So if you give money or love or time to someone with the expectation that they're going to give it back to you, okay, or that they're going to make that $5 into $10 or whatever it is going to happen, then you're going to constantly be disappointed because the underlying thing you're giving with is not gratitude or blessings or abundance. It's coming from a scarcity paradigm because you have that judgment. It's like the story in the Bible with the merchant with his servants, and my Bible's a little rusty, so you'll have to bear with me, where the master gave the servant 40 pieces of silver each to watch for over one summer, and then went away. And when he came back, he brought the servants on, and one servant said, Master, I guarded your money carefully, and by taking care of it, I did not lose any of it. Here is your 40 pieces of silver. And the other man said, Master, I took your 40 pieces of silver, and I carefully invested it in things that I wanted and thought would get you money, and I grew it to be this much. And the other man said, Master, I took your 40 pieces of silver and I gave it to charity. I gave it to people who were more needy than you and I, because I know that you are very generous and I wanted to give it in your name. And the master turned around and ended up firing, in the biblical sense, which basically means he beat the poor man and sent him on his way, the servant that hoarded the money. Because what the servant that hoarded the money was doing was showing a scarcity principle. I have to be very careful with this because this is all that I have. The other two servants used it in ways that showed that there was more where that came from. And that thinking was rewarded. And the parable in that is that you have to think in terms of a paradigm of abundance, because that's really the way it works. And I think this really leads us into the third part of our discussion, which is 0-point energy, as we were both discussing it earlier, because now we can get into talking about how things are created, how they're manifested. And, you know, I don't think any of us really know. But can you explain to me how you define 0-point energy?
Right, the 0 point for me stands for like the unconditional love. Is there are no sort of rules or anything. It's the like nothingness. It's the 0 point is a reference point from my point, my starting point of from where I create from. So first there is like nothing. For me, it's just pure unconditional love, which I know we all have. Yeah, we all have within. Like everything has this this isness, sort of this pure energy isness. And from there is from when then I create from. So for me, it's like that pure, very pure energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, it does make sense, especially when tied into what we were just talking about with the laws of creation, the laws of attraction with the tools of creation. It's just another way. Now, I like to look at that as it's the bucket or the vacuum where infinite possibilities reside.
That's right.
Okay? That
Yeah.
0-point energy is the place of nothingness, if you'll allow me to say that, because there really is no true such thing as nothing.
Yes.
Where the infinite possibilities reside, where we can pull it out and make it what we want.
Yeah.
Now, in quantum physics, which is where 0-point energy comes from, and was actually defined by Albert Einstein, I think back in 1913, he defines it as the lowest energy point that lowest point of energy that anything could have, that any molecule, proton, quark, phasor, photon, whatever, could have. So if we wanted to take that and bring it into the definition we just had from you, 0-point energy is that lowest point that we're at. It's where we can fully create, that nothing truly exists at that moment until we put our energy into that bucket and pull the rabbit out of the hat, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's right. Yeah.
Now, I want to sort of bring everything together, because while we're talking about tools of creation and the law of attraction and now 0-point energy, and 0-point energy has been used to describe clean energy and free energy, because in its scientific principles, if it's proven to work out, it could revolutionize the way we do everything. A 0-point energy car wouldn't need gas to run. It at its heart, if you want to think of it scientifically, is really a differential machine. And they have created a differential machine on the small size where the exchange of energy, the exchange of air coming in and air going out, if you can think of it that way, is what causes the vibrations, which all that energy is, that moves the object. And it can have applications if we can learn how to harness it to change the way we drive, the way we heat our houses, the way we look at energy and we pay for energy. It can be used for anything. So I don't want our listeners to think that it's just a big old metaphysical concept in quantum physics that has no practical application. As a matter of fact, out of all the ideas that quantum physics gives us, with the exception of dark matter and dark energy, 0-point energy, I think, has the most practical applications to really help the world move forward and become a clean energy source which will help the environment and really release us from the monetary handcuffs that are now placed upon us by big oil.
Yeah.
So 0-point energy is a wonderful concept to talk about in a metaphysical reality on how we create. It's been used in science fiction and in comics to describe how science fiction engines work and science fiction future weapons work. If you remember seeing The Incredibles, Synergy, I think was the villain's name in there, he described his weapons to be powered with 0-point energy. And I think Stargate also makes reference to 0-point energy. So it's been used in science fiction throughout the years, but it's really the most science-ready of all the quantum physics and quantum mechanics things that we have. So, folks, everything that Katie and I are discussing in this discussion today, in the past two that we've had, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to look at them, please go to the Group of One YouTube site. The other two interviews are sitting there. Watch them at your leisure. And
the meetup group.
Excuse me?
Yeah, the meetup group.
It's at the meetup group. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's at the meetup group, and we will give you that address before we go off the air today. And everything that we move forward to, they all have practical applications in addition to just being big old metaphysical concepts that don't really work. Everything we're talking about here, you can use practically in your life to make changes in your life. And that's really what I love most about this and these conversations that we're having, Katie. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to reach out and share these things with people. It means a lot to me.
Thank you, Gary. Well, it means a lot to me that you're my mouthpiece.
But that's a good thing. Somebody has to be, because I don't think anyone will take either one of us. We're just crazy enough to understand each other.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to head into the second half of the show right now. Hard to believe we've been talking for a half hour right now. So we got a half hour left, and what I'd like to do is now talk about practical applications on how you can use the laws of attraction and the tools of creation and 0-point energy, so the people don't have to go out and buy the book, The Secret by Rhonda Burns. You know, folks, if you want to buy a book, don't buy The Secret. Go to Amazon and buy my book. That's the plug. It's called Clear Visions. It's a very good book. 5-star rating on Amazon. It really, really is good. $2.99. Just go ahead, download it to your Kindle. Now, for me, when I'm working with... Excuse me?
I said what you like.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Hey, shameless self-promotion. What could I say? When I'm working with clients, and they always ask me, well, how could I use this practically in my life? I let them know. This is the way I set up my business, to take simple, practical strategies, to take these big, huge concepts and say, okay, this is really this small, and you can use it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to tell people to start changing the way they think by doing meditation. Meditate for at least 10 minutes a day when you're starting out. If you can't do 10 minutes, meditate for 5 minutes. If you're afraid that you can't meditate, that you're going to fall asleep, or you can't focus because your mind is going back and forth, the simplest meditation you can do is something I call a candle meditation, which is simply lighting a candle, putting it a couple of inches, no more than 6 to 9, maybe a foot in front of you on a table, and just staring at the wick and focusing on the wick. And you will notice, just by doing that, your mind will start to blank, and it will start to open up as it empties. And then you're in a state of meditation, folks. And you will start to calm down, and your heart rate will start to lower, and your blood pressure will start to lower. And you will enter, for lack of a better term, this Zen quality, where you will be able to become one with the universe, is what I believe, okay? You'll be able to become one with that center as you go inside yourself. And that's a good place, because in order to use these tools practically, you have to be able to pay attention to yourself and to learn your particular signs about when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling nervous, so you can nip those feelings in the bud straight away. What are some of the things that you do, Katie, to bring about that calmness or that stillness within inside of you?
Well, actually, I just want to add something here. I'm glad we've got onto this practical, about practical in our daily lives, because the 0 point energy, and I can't sort of probably stress this enough, is extremely powerful. And it may seem to a lot of people like just, excuse the pun, nothing. But it is, for me, the most powerful energy there is. Now, from you explained just before we went into this about the materialistics of how 0 point energy is being used with free energy and all that sort of thing, how to drive cars, da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. But with regards to how powerful it, for me, in my everyday life, and how I see it with others, because we're creating from that point, everything that is out there that we experience in reality, we are creating that to happen to us. And as you said, it is. No, a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for being the creators of their own reality. And I totally understand why they would be frightened of that. I was totally frightened of it. And although I sort of knew it, to actually be able to come onto a video now and just say to the whole world, yeah, I'm the creator of my own reality, I'm fully aware of that. It took me a long time for me to actually build my self-confidence and knowing and understanding. And through the practice of simple little things, one being, I always follow my feelings, because my feelings are connected to my 0 point place. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're always putting me at the right place at the right time. For me, it's about totally, as the years have gone on, is trusting in myself that I know what is best for me. But also knowing that what is best for me is not necessarily what is best for someone else. There is no competition. There's too much competition in the world. It's how I see it at the moment. It's like, everyone's trying to be right. But the thing is, everybody is right.
Yep.
They're right to believe what they choose to believe. And I totally respect that. Mm-hmm. But it's not about what's right. It's not about what's right and wrong. It's so not. So what I'm saying, this 0 point, what I would like to say to people is be so incredibly gentle with yourself. I think I said this before in the last video. Be very gentle with yourself. Just treat yourself gently. Just be kind to yourself. Regardless of what. Put yourself first. Really put yourself first, because it's a very scary experience. From my own experience, it was very scary for me to come out of the out of the fear closet.
That's actually a great way of putting it, and I have to agree with you, because I know that you are saying that you come out and you're the creator of your own reality, and I will come out and say that I am the creator of my own reality. And my entire professional life is dedicated to helping people and showing people and teaching people the ways that they can be masters of their own reality and create their own reality and live authentically and congruently by their beliefs, and how they can create and manifest the life they choose. But I wasn't always this way. Like you, I lived by somebody else's rules for way so long. I was reading somebody else's book about myself, is the way I like to put it. And it wasn't until I started writing my own book and took responsibility for my own actions and understood that I create my own reality that everything changed. And like you, it was the scariest thing I had to do. It really was, because at the beginning, I blamed everyone. I blamed my mother. I blamed my girlfriends. I blamed my ex-wife. I blamed my bosses. I blamed everyone but me. And it is scary when you say, no, I am in control of my life. It is an extremely powerful thing. But unfortunately, in the world we live in today, it takes on not an empowering, but a fearful tone, because you're told that you can't do it by yourself, that you do not have the right to think for yourself, that you must fall in line and have this groupthink mentality in order to be successful, that you have to make tons of money, or you have to lie and cheat to get that money, or you have to kiss the ass of your boss in order to go up the company ladder. And that's not true. Whatever you believe to be true for you is the truth for you. And we've said this week in and week out, whether we were talking about unconditional love or we were talking about, I don't even remember what last week's show was about. So, and in this one, judgment. Thank you. Whether we were talking about unconditional love or we were talking about judgment, and today we're talking about the laws of attraction and the creation process and really how you can use it to design your own life. And we're still saying the same things. Be gentle with yourself. Live with gratitude. And I think we're doing this for another 13 weeks, I think, or 13 episodes. And I guarantee you, this one lesson will be repeated every single week, because it's really the thread that ties everything together, folks. Regardless of whether we're talking about judgment, unconditional love, laws of attraction, or anything we've got coming up, the main thing you have to remember is to love yourself. You have to be grateful, and you have to be happy with what you have. And that's the best way to activate it. Katie, you said it. You hit it the nail right on the head. You were absolutely correct. You have to trust yourself. And that's the very scary thing. That's why I teach and I profess meditations, because that learns you. That's good. That teaches you to listen to yourself. In a way, it forces you to listen to yourself. Now, whether you want to call it meditation, whether you want to call it quiet contemplation, whether you want to call it prayer, whatever you choose to call it, just do it every day and get in touch with that stillness, so you learn to read the signs and what your body and your soul is telling you. And that will go a long way. Katie was absolutely right. And folks, I just want to tell you, it's not a panacea. If you choose to take this path, at the beginning, it's going to be the scariest thing you're ever going to do. And you're going to get some feelings that are going to freak you out. But it's okay. Trust in those feelings, because they're probably going to be the first time in your life that you've touched those points and you've actually been communicating with yourself. So it's okay. It's okay to have that fear. It's okay to be a little wigged out. Go with it. Don't judge it. There we go. Going back to the last episode. Be gentle with yourself. And everything will be okay.
Sorry, Gary, can I just add something else as well? When I follow my feelings, I know that I'm at the right place at the right time for me. So when I'm going about my normal day-to-day business, and say, for example, and I'm doing what pleases and putting myself first, and then I come into a situation which is quite sort of, I don't know, I meet someone down the street that I haven't seen for years, for example. All of a sudden, out of the blue, something manifests in front of me. And I look to myself, and because I trust in the process, I know I'm at the right place at the right time for me there, and I've met that person at the right time. I don't believe in coincidences.
They don't exist.
You know, there are no coincidences. There are, synchronicity. All that for me, that's just sort of. Anyway, that probably another topic we could talk about. But everything happens for a reason and the right time for it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And because I trust that and know that, even just going to the shop, or if I get a feeling I'm going to go to that shop, and then I think, oh, I feel to go to this other shop. I follow that because I know it's leading me somewhere, or I'm going to meet somebody, or I need to be somewhere so something else doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily about something going to happen to you. It could be that you need to be somewhere so something doesn't happen to someone else.
Exactly.
Can you see what I mean? So there's always a reason for why we're being sort of pulled somewhere.
And that's why I think these discussions are really, really important, because the lesson that we're being taught in society today, through our governments, through our schools, through our religious organizations, is not to listen to that gut instinct, to listen to other people, to turn off the radio that's inside of you, so to speak, and don't listen to what it's telling you. Mm-hmm. And it's important to listen to that, because you're exactly right. If you're walking into a store and you get this feeling that says, no, something's not right here, go with that gut instinct. That gut instinct is never going to steer you wrong. If you don't want to look at it in metaphysical terms, think about it in biological evolutionary terms. That gut instinct comes from the survival skill, the fight or flight mechanism, which is controlled by the amygdala in the brain, somewhere around here, okay, that goes back to caveman times, that kept us alive in a very unhospitable place. It's the remnants of that. So that gut feeling that you have is there to protect you, whether you want to look at it as a metaphysical manifestation or whether you want to look at it as a biological evolutionary alarm. It does the same thing. And you're absolutely right. Always follow your gut instincts. I can't tell you, since I've started doing it, and I've stopped second-guessing myself, and I walked away like you. I walked away from a job that paid me good money, okay, to sit there and become a coach and an author, because it, for me, felt as if it was right. It was my soul speaking to me saying, this is making you money, but it's not nurturing you. And for me, nurturing was the most important thing, wanting to help people. And I walked away from it. And for 3 and 4 years, I struggled. And nothing happened, and nothing broke, and I was living paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth, and I kept looking at God and saying, okay, what's going on here? Something's got to give. Why are you putting me through this? And the answer I kept getting, because yes, I speak to God and God speaks to me. You know, it's another thing I don't understand about this world is you speak to God, you're religious. God speaks to you, you're crazy. I don't consider that, but that's just the way the world works. But when I said this to God, I distinctly remember saying, I will let nothing happen to you. Stay your course. Do what you love. Move forward and write your own story. And it's taken steadily a number of years, but now it's finally getting out to the point where I've got 2 books out there. I'm working on a 3rd. I'm doing workshops and seminars all over. I've got various radio shows, the Google Hangout thing that we're doing here for 13, 14 weeks, and other things that are coming of age, and everything is coming to fruition, which I think is another important thing that we didn't mention about the law of attraction. The law of attraction works, but there's one other requirement that you need to have, and that's consistency. Because
yes.
It's not
discipline.
There's no magic wand like in Harry Potter where you'll wave it and the things you want instantly appear. It takes time for the universe to line up everything you want.
Yeah.
So you've got to keep your thoughts steady and consistent on what you want, and eventually you will get it.
Yeah, discipline. Discipline yourself, isn't it?
Discipline. Perfect. It took me 3 years to get to the point where I'm now cranking out books and have a couple of top-selling books on Amazon. It took me 5 years to get to the point where every month I have a workshop or a radio show or some sort of event that I am either participating in or leading in. But that's because I never gave up on that thought. I always held it in the forefront of my mind. And that's also a very important part of the laws of attraction, which is why listening to your gut is so important, which is why meditation and getting in touch with your center and learning to enjoy that stillness is important.
And Gary, just to add, what you said about the gut instinct is there to protect you. As I said, my gut instinct, if it feels right to not go in that store and go in another one, and it feels right to do that, as I said, it's not just there to protect me, but it's also there to protect others, because I am one with everyone. We are all one. Okay, so if it's not meant to be for me, I know it's meant to be for someone else. So that's what I said. Is, you know, quite often, 9 times out of 10, I follow my feelings, and I don't know why. But I do know I'm there because I'm meant to be there to perhaps stop something from happening or to help create something happen, which I may not necessarily ever find out what that is, but it's part of somebody else's reality that I'm supposed to be there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and I agree with you 110%. We are one. Individuation is an illusion, and of course we can talk about that for hours on another show. But in a nutshell, individuation is an illusion because we're all part of the same oneness, the same energy or soul, if you want to call it that way. So anything I do to myself, I do to you. And if I am following my gut instinct and it's telling me to stay away from this person or not to go in this store, it may not necessarily be because of me, it may be because of the other person. And I'm just getting a vibe from them that is reflecting back to me. Everything is connected in that way, and that's also why the law of attraction works so well. And we've got about 5 minutes left, so we could talk about this forever, but, you know, hey, we got an hour, and we're coming to the close of that. So I would just like to thank everyone who is listening to this. If folks, do us a favor, if you're listening to this and we touched a lot on things and it sounds like we can talk for a lot longer, if we didn't answer any of your questions or we didn't get to something that you want, or you just want to hear more about the law of attraction, leave them in the notes that are right below, right down there, or leave them on the Facebook page for Group of One, or on my personal page or Katie's personal page. And we'll do this again. This is a 16-episode series. It's supposed to last till July or August or sometime like that.
August the 11th.
August the 11th, thank you. And we're not tied into any one subject on one day. We can shuffle it and do whatever we want based upon what you want. Because as we just discussed, we're not talking. You're talking to us, even though you're not here and you're not participating, because we're all one.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions that we haven't covered, leave them in the notes or contact us on Facebook or Meetup. And if there's some subjects you want us to talk about, let us know about that also. Before I throw it to Katie to say her final goodbyes, because I guarantee you want to look at a pretty face as your last image rather than my ugly mug, I will just let you know that this has been a pleasure. My name again is Gary Karp. I am the author of Clear Visions, How to Create Vision Boards That Really Work. If you do want to supercharge the law of attraction and learn all about vision boards, please go to Amazon.com or Amazon.com UK and download it for your Kindle. It's also available in paperback. Please do it. You won't be sorry. You will learn things that will just manifest crazily in your life. And Katie, what's the last thing you want to leave our viewers and listeners with today and the thought could be anything. What do you want to say?
Okay. I'll just say thank you to everybody for joining us, whether it's now or at some other time. I know it will be the right time for you. If you do want to watch parts 1 and 2 or any of the other, parts as they come in, it's go to the website www.groupof1.org, and in the discussion forum, I've actually just today posted parts 1 and 2 in there, so anybody can watch those. Again, you don't have to be a member of the Group of One, because everyone is already a member, because we are all one. And so it's free tools for people to use. If you would like to join the meetup group, the groupof1.org, which is a meetup group, you can. That's absolutely fine. It's free. You can contact me via there. You can contact Gary via there. And anyway, and also, if you want to join in with these discussions, in the last 4 parts of our discussion, coming up to August the 11th, we're allowed a maximum of 10 people per discussion. So we'd really love to invite anybody to come along and join in with these debates with us, because these little conversations we're having, not debates, not debates.
They're not debates.
No, wrong word. But anyway, so yes, so I just want to say thank you very much. I really enjoyed this. Thank you, Gary.
You're very welcome, Katie. Thank you. This was a great discussion. I enjoyed this. This is how I make my living, with the law of attraction, so this was right up my alley. Folks, I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Sorry, Gary, one more thing. I think in 2 weeks' time, I think the topic is relationships.
Oh. Yeah. So 2 weeks to hear Katie and Gary talk and trash their exes is basically what next week. No, folks, really. It will be a good show. We're going to talk about the relationships with yourself, the relationship with God, the relationship with everyone around us, because as we keep saying today, we are one. There will be no ex-bashing on the show next week.
No ex-bashing.
But thank you very much for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please enjoy the rest of your week. And if you don't know where the name of this show came from, which is Chats About Life, the Universe, and Everything, do yourself a favor. Go pick up the Douglas Adams Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy. It's one of the best books you're ever going to read. Until next week, or the next show on whatever the date was that Katie gave you that I can't remember. And she's not going to drop that date in, so just check.
I can't remember it. I'll have to go to...
It's 2 weeks from today. Let's say it that way.
2 weeks today, yes. At 9 o'clock or 4.
At 4 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock in England, because I, of course, am in Brooklyn. Katie is in Bristol. And we've got listeners all the way around the world. You can find this and any episode on archive on YouTube. Hit us up on our meetup page. And until the next time, folks, peace, love, and popcorn. Enjoy your time.
Bye-bye.